Hi everybody, and thanks for subscribing to my channel and showing your support with my mushroom experiment here. I've been planning on growing these mushrooms for 2 years on the same substrate, only just adding to it to keep them healthy and keep them alive, which has been successful so far. It's been almost 1 year. I think it's like 11 months now that I've had these going. I had them going in a bucket outside in my greenhouse, but I've transferred them into a smaller container because I just haven't always had time to get out to the greenhouse and get to check them out and stuff. But yeah, so I've put them now, changed them into a smaller container, a 2-litre container with a screw-on lid. The lid is not airtight, so it just screws on and off. You can see the mycelium. It's really white, quite healthy. Inside we have some of the straw, and what I've added in here is a layer of oak wood chips. They colonized really well, no contamination, and all I did to sterilize the wood chips was I boiled it for 15 minutes with a little bit of lime, let it cool, and then added it straight in here, and man, it just colonized that so fast. There wasn't any time for other competing bacteria. But then on the top you can see it's like little balls of mycelium, and that's because on here there's grain. I put a layer of grain on at a different time just to add to it. But over in this corner here where you can see that dark resin sort of mycelium, that's got an area that got contaminated, but the mycelium in this jar or in this container is so strong that it just started growing over it and formed a layer of mycelium over it to suffocate the contaminated grain. Which one thing I find is with the grain, it gets contaminated really quickly, and I think that's due to the grain having endospores, which are very hard to kill. You need to be like super lab set up to kill all the endospores in the grain, and even then you can't kill them all. So what I've done is I went to the park and I found an old oak tree, and just on the ground around the old oak trees there's branches, and I bring them home and chip them up in the wood chipper, and that gives a nice medium which I'll be adding to this container to keep it going. I might add some more straw at different times as well, but one thing I found is that the timing of when you add fresh substrate to it is important, because if you leave it too long the mycelium gets weak and then can't fight off contamination. So the best time I found to add new substrate is after your first flush, so you get one flush and then add fresh substrate. And here we've got a flush just starting. It's a nice little cluster of pins there, just starting to come out the side of the container. But I've just got this container sitting in the corner of my room with no humidification, just what's naturally in the air. I'm going to make a fruiting chamber for it, so I get better mushrooms off it, so that I can have a nice feed now and again. But the main point of this experiment is to show that you can keep the mycelium going in the same container without contamination and without changing the whole substrate, but keeping it alive by just adding to it substrate at certain times to optimize the strength of the mycelium network, so that it's just getting stronger as it goes instead of fruiting and then getting weak, because that's what happens. It uses the nutrients to fruit and then it drops down, the strength of the plant drops down, and that's when it can lead to contamination through weakness. So yeah, it's going all good, coming up to the 1 year mark. I will get a bigger container than this 2 litre. I might go up to like a 10 litre container and just keep that in my room. We'll see how we go, because I just can't go too big with it, because I just don't have the time to put into making it massive. But keeping it alive, successful, no contamination, it's all healthy in there, and it's still fruiting. So I mean, it's only got 1 hole in it. Oh, and another thing that I found is really important about maintaining the health of the mycelium inside the container is airflow. So this lid is not airtight, it just screws on, and like at one stage I had mushrooms popping out the side of it, just coming out the side, because that's, you know, it's not sealed so they can come out there. But I just got a cloth and wiped around the inside and wiped all the mycelium off that was fruiting. But this is where I want them to come out at this stage. It's down here, which they are. And yeah, so airflow inside the container is extremely important to maintaining the mycelium health. Yeah, I'll keep you updated when I add more substrate to it, which after this flush here I will boil up some oak wood chips and add that to it and show you what it looks like, and maybe give it a push down to compact what's inside and see how much it's eaten, because the stuff inside, it just disappears, it just turns to dust. So yeah, keep subscribing to find out how I go with this experiment. And coming up to the 1 year mark, it's looking all good. I will be adding different substrates to it, so if you've got any ideas of what you want me to add to see if the mycelium will like it or not, you can let me know. I was thinking about trying some totara, which is a native wood in my country, in New Zealand. So I'm going to chip up some totara tree. I've got a little bit of a log in the shed which is dry, and I'll boil that up and add that to it and see if the mycelium takes to it, which it should do pretty well. And then see if it will fruit after that. So yeah, alright, thanks for watching, and keep updated, keep subscribing, and any ideas on experiments you want to see on this substrate, let me know. Thanks, bye.